Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for staying. I know it's been a long day. You guys have had to sit through a lot of talk, so I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. First of all, before I get started, I have to give a special thank you to Radhika because I unfortunately set my talk very, very late last night, and very happy to see that she was able to get it together. That just goes to show you how hard it is to pull an event like this together, so kudos to her for getting this done. A little bit about myself. Again, I'm Justin Kocher with Jobs Ohio. I have a little bit of a background in international trade. I worked as an international trade specialist with the U.S. Department of Commerce, worked in the private sector doing international sales, and now I work with Jobs Ohio doing international business development, specifically foreign direct investment. So again, I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. I know it's been a long day. Everybody wants to chat and network a little bit. So I'm going to try and just quickly go through some of these slides. If you remember anything today, I want to just communicate that Jobs Ohio is here to help specifically foreign companies. My role anyway is to help foreign companies invest in Ohio. We try to help address the speed and the cost of investment. We basically try to work at the speed of business to facilitate companies' investment here in Ohio. What I'd like to talk to you about today is just to introduce to you briefly what Jobs Ohio does and talk a little bit about our Asia strategy and specifically what we do in Japan. I think Consul General Wada did a great job of talking about what we do in Japan, and then talk a little bit about China, and then if there's a little bit of time, some of our success stories that go along those, and with South Korea. So, for those of you who don't know Jobs Ohio, we're a private, nonprofit economic development organization that's designed to drive job creation and new capital investment in Ohio through business attraction and expansion. Some of the services that we offer are site selection, economic incentives, streamlining the investment process, and assisting firms to land well in Ohio. We support international investment by ease of entry, as I mentioned before, long-term partnership, and we act as an advocate of the companies. This is a busy slide. There's a lot going on here. What I wanted to call out here, we were stood up in 2011 with the goal of moving at the speed of business to attract new jobs and capital investment to Ohio. We have 9 sectors of focus in those blue squares in the corner there. We focus on advanced manufacturing, aerospace and aviation, automotive, biohealth, information technology, shale energy and petrochemicals, financial services, food processing, and distribution and logistics. Ohio is one of the few states that has all 5 of the quote-unquote game changers identified in a McKinsey study: shale energy, big data analytics, advanced manufacturing, infrastructure, and talent. Skip through some of these. So I want to introduce you to our network as well. Jobs Ohio has a robust network, regional network of 6 partner organizations. We have Team NEO. We have our Team NEO representative here this afternoon, Mindy McLaughlin, as well. We work hand in hand with our regional partners. Again, we work on site selection. We help with business development. We help with incentives. We do workforce recruitment and training. We try to help streamline the permitting process. We introduce service providers, and we provide a long-term partnership for business success. And the reason that we're able to provide this long-term partnership is through a dedicated funding stream, through a 25-year franchise of the statewide Spirit Liquor business, which allows for our long-term strategic planning. This gives our agency a competitive advantage over other states that are subject to states' fluctuating budgets. So just to give you a little bit of background, where are we and why? So Jobs Ohio targets the G7 plus China countries. The majority of our companies that are located in Ohio are based in these countries, and the majority of our prospective clients that we try to work with come from those countries. We focus on Japan and China, and in each of our focus markets we have local representatives in those markets. To talk a little bit, I'm not going to go into too much detail. Again, I think Consul General Wada did a great job of talking a little bit about what's happening in Ohio with regards to Japan. But Honda here is sort of the largest employer, international employer in the state of Ohio with over 14,000 jobs, and they've been here for nearly 40 years. So we try to leverage that relationship. We take state-level missions to Japan, specifically the Midwest Japan Association Conference, but we also have industry-led events that we participate in as well. We have a relationship with the equivalent of our states in Japan, specifically Saitama, and we're looking to develop those relationships further. Where do we want to be? We'd like to attract 1,000 new jobs to Ohio from Japanese companies per year. We'd like to continue with the reputation as a state that is Japanese friendly and help facilitate soft landings for new investments and establish long-term strategic relationships in specific sectors. And how do we do that? Again, we try to leverage our existing companies that are here, as well as university relationships, and engage with multipliers, some of which are here today. We have Ralph is here today as well, who was on the panel earlier, as well as Consul General, who was here earlier. And just to give you an idea of some of the companies that are here, the ones I'd like to call out specifically here in the Cleveland area are Hitachi and Bridgestone. I think Consul General Wada spoke to you a little bit about Rakuten. I know this is probably impossible to read, but this is just to give you a high-level overview of all the different facilities in Ohio that are Japanese-owned. And share with you a little bit of news about some success stories that we've had. This just happened last week. A Japanese corporation Topre opened a 174,000 square foot facility with an investment of nearly $47 million. And also, the governor was present with Jobs Ohio and Dr. Hiro Fujita at the QED R&D Center opening, which was a very exciting event for us. The R&D program is something that Jobs Ohio supports by providing seed capital to new R&D facilities that they do their expansion here in Ohio. Just wanted to highlight a little bit about the Japanese Business Federation that we had in town late October, which included senior level executives from Kaidanren who came to visit with the governor and to basically talk to Ohio businesses about opportunities for continued collaboration. And we're the only state that the Kaidanren Federation has chosen to visit twice, which I think speaks volumes about the level of engagement between Ohio and Japan. Now on to China. Again, not to get into too many of the nitty-gritty details, but where have we been, where do we want to be, and how do we get there? We have a signature investment in the Dayton area by Fuyao Glass, which makes automobile glass, which is actually currently at about 1,500 jobs, and it's a $600 million investment. We also take state-level missions to China based upon various industries that are our target sectors that I spoke to you about before, auto, but chemicals as well. We also have state-level relationships, specifically with Hubei province, and we support trade shows on the ground, specifically through Select USA, and we arrange other meetings as well and conferences in China. How do we get to where we want to be in 2018 and beyond? Again, we'd like to attract 1,000 new jobs to Ohio from China each year, continue our reputation as being a Chinese-friendly state for investment, and continue to establish long-term relationships in our strategic growth sectors. We'd like to continue to attract some of the large, more strategic opportunities, including Foxconn, Alibaba, and other large companies from China, but also to leverage our university relationships. There's nearly 4,000 Chinese students at Ohio State University, and the University of Dayton has a China Institute, which I'll speak to you a little bit about more here in a second, as well as continue to engage our multipliers, such as the Paulson Institute and the National Committee on U.S.-China Relations. This gives you a quick overview of some of the key investments that Chinese companies have made in Ohio over the past few years. The one that we'll highlight here is the Fuyao investment, but there are a number of investments from China in the Ohio area. One thing I touched on a little bit, we'd like to leverage our university relationships in communities. If we are able to attract successfully such a large number of students, we'd like to try and keep some of these students here and employ them and attract new businesses around that. Ohio State has operated a gateway office in China since 2010, and as you see from 2000, the number of students at OSU have continued to grow at a substantial rate. The University of Dayton opened its China Institute in 2012, and in 2015, Fuyao Glass announced they would support with a $7 million gift to the University of Dayton China Institute. Here's one success story I wanted to call out, which is when the Fuyao Glass investment was announced with Chairman Chao De-Wong and Governor Kasich. This is another focus country I just wanted to touch on. It's a non-focus country, rather, in South Korea. We've had a number of very successful investments. One of them, for example, is in the Astoria area with Knox Corporation, which created 150 jobs and a $21 million investment and brought jobs to an area that was greatly in need of new investment. So without going into too much other detail, I'd like to open it up for questions and see if anybody has any questions or concerns about what job